Hello everyone, today we will discuss on module titled Fermentative Microorganisms as Food and Value-Added Food Products. The main objective of this module is to provide practical guidance on fermentative microorganisms as food and value-added food products. After studying this module, you will be able to understand the basic concept of fermentation and its beneficial role, different types of fermentations, class of microbes involved in fermentation, fermented food and its types, functional food, probiotics and their role in health maintenance, and value-added food products. The idiom fermentation is derived from the Latin verb fervere, which means to boil. Since the bubbling and foaming of early fermenting beverages seemed closely similar to boiling. As fermentation is one of the oldest food preservation methods throughout the world, frequently we discuss the negative impact caused by microorganisms in food like food spoilage. However, microorganisms can be used as a cheaper and efficient live worker to produce beneficial health food. But how fermentation works was not understood until the work of Louis Pasteur in 1854 and the research which followed.
In a biochemical sense, fermentation is the metabolic process in which complex organic compounds, particularly carbohydrates such as glucose, are broken down into simpler compounds without the involvement of oxygen, along with the production of energy in the form of ATP molecules. The other end products of fermentation differ depending on the organism. The science of fermentation is also known as zymology. In fact, the definition of fermentation is very broad and encompasses various phenomena, but in each case has one thing in common: microorganism introduced in food, voluntarily or not. These microorganisms can be bacteria, yeast or molds, but all of them use the sugar in these food to grow. These microbes break down the sugar for extracting the energy, while they do it in different way with different final products. Therefore, we will define fermentation as a process that involves one of these: alcohol and alcohol beverages, spoilage of food by microorganisms. Fermenting bacteria are not always good, and the products they form may be considered undesirable in some food but desirable in others. Vinegar is desirable in pickle fermentation but not in milk fermentation. Toxins are also produced by some bacteria that causes illness or death. A metabolic process that releases energy from sugar without the use of oxygen. In such cases, the organism does not need oxygen to grow. Microbial biotechnology was developed during 1850s when fermentation process was significantly studied. Theodor Schwann and F. Kudging Kengred Lotto independently proposed involvement of microorganisms in the conversion of sugars to alcohol. French chemist Louis Pasteur was the first zymologist to study fermentation scientifically. In 1854, he connected yeast to fermentation. Pasteur originally defined fermentation as respiration without air. While studying the fermentation of sugar to alcohol by yeast, Pasteur concluded that fermentation was catalyzed by a vital force called ferments within the yeast cells. German chemist and zymologist Edward Buchner, winner of the Nobel Prize 1907, that is Nobel Prize in Chemistry, later determined that fermentation is caused by a yeast secretion that he termed zymase.
So often we talk about the negative concerns caused by microorganisms like food spoilage, but they can be used as efficient live factories to produce food which are beneficial to human beings in various ways. Why do we ferment food? Because the food fermentation is a process which is accountable for changing the character of food, and moreover, it increases the preservation aspect of food, it improves the flavor and aroma, it boosts the nutritional value, and food may be cleaned up by fermentation process. It stabilizes the gut microbiota. Our ancestors since time immemorial used fermentation to create food with nutritional value for superior to that of the things most modern people eat and to preserve these food without freezing or canning. In fermentation, microbes are present in the form of single cells or cell aggregates, often bacteria, sometimes fungi, algae, or cells of plant or animal origin. Unicellular bacterial cell possesses an outer cell wall lined with a cell membrane that holds the content present inside and prevents it from leakage while allowing the nutrient transport into the cell from the outside of metabolites from inside to outside. The cytoplasm of cell contains all that the cell needs to live and to proliferate, for instance, proteins, enzymes, and vitamins. Chemically, cell consists mainly of water and protein molecule and a large number of minor compounds.
A number of fermentation reactions uses sugars as the substrate. The principle of microbial metabolism of glucose is described in this slide. The first step of glucose metabolism is its cleavage and followed by multi-step reaction to form glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. Sequence of complex enzyme regulated reactions leads to pyruvate. While depending on the presence of principal enzymes, pyruvate is converted into lactic acid or acetaldehyde and ethanol with pyruvate decarboxylase and alcohol dehydrogenase. Various types of fermentations have been studied based on kind of respiration, microorganism involved and mode of fermentation process. Based on class of respiration, there are two types of fermentation: aerobic fermentation and anaerobic fermentation. Aerobic fermentation requires adequate aeration. Bioreactors must have a mechanism of stirring and mixing of cells as well as medium. Major product includes antibiotic, vitamin and enzymes production, whereas anaerobic process doesn't require the supply of air, and the major product include lactic acid, wine and ethanol. Based on kind of microorganisms, three types of fermentations are there: bacterial fermentation, yeast fermentation, mold and enzyme fermentation. Bacterial fermentation include lactic acid bacteria, for example pickles, sauerkraut and dairy products; acetic acid bacteria in vinegar production; carbon dioxide bacteria, Adams and Gouda sweets; and proteolytic bacteria in cocoa and chocolate. Yeast fermentation includes Saccharomyces species for production of ethanol and bread, and mold and enzyme fermentation includes enzymes of the mold which can be useful that breaks the cellulose, thus grains are easy for chewing and they can add flavor and texture to the cheeses. Fermentation could be carried out by three methods: batch fermentation, continuous fermentation and immobilized fermentation. Batch fermentation, where nutrient medium and fermenting of microorganisms like yeast are allowed to remain in bioreactor till the maximum product is produced and the entire medium with the organism and the product is removed after each cycle. The continuous fermentation, in continuous process, product is drawn off at regular intervals and fresh medium is introduced into the bioreactor. In immobilized fermentation, living microbial cells are immobilized with an inert carrier material, that is beads. The beads with living cells are placed in nutrient medium in the fermentation tank, and this technique allows quick fermentation about 20 times faster than the batch process.
Microorganisms are ubiquitous. In fact, only selected groups of microorganisms can carry the process of fermentation, which benefits a human being. Here you can see the micrographs of the most common microorganisms such as bacteria, yeast and molds involved in the process of fermentation.
Lactic acid bacteria plays a crucial role in desirable food fermentation processes. Among the lactic acid bacteria group, Lactobacillus and Lactococcus species are most commonly used. These organisms are a group of gram-positive bacteria, non-spore forming, devoid of cytochromes, which have ability to produce lactic acid as the principal end product of fermentation of carbohydrates present in food. Other important organisms beside lactic acid bacteria involved in fruit and vegetable fermentations are acetic acid producing Acetobacter species. Yeasts are unicellular microbes found in diverse habitats. Most important yeast in terms of desirable food fermentation is from Saccharomyces family, especially Saccharomyces cerevisiae. You will be amazed to note that this yeast is involved in a number of food which we consumed daily, such as bread and alcoholic beverages. Some lactose fermenting yeast belonging to genus Cluveromyces are also involved in fermentation. Molds are multicellular microorganisms with fiber-like structures which you might have observed on spoiled bread. These organisms are also involved in desirable food fermentation, such as the development of some varieties of cheese where penicillium play important role in ripening and flavor development. There are some cereal based fermented food which are exclusively prepared by fermentation with malt.
Fermented food are produced by modification of unprocessed material of animal or vegetable origin by the activities of certain microorganisms. These products differ in texture, flavor, stability and nutritional value than that of original source material. This process preserves the food and creates beneficial enzymes, B vitamins, omega-3 fatty acids. The fermented dairy products are the most common example of fermented food. Fermented food prepared using milk or milk product as singular or major ingredients. These are most popular fermented food consumed as an item of daily diet. Fermented dairy food can also serve as an excellent matrix for probiotic food. The production of commercial as well as products of homemade fermented dairy food is done by use of suitable starter cultures. Starters convert lactose, a major sugar present in milk, to lactic acid.
Example of fermented fruits and vegetables. Pickling vegetables improves their flavor, make them more nutritious and easier to digest. The process of pickling is accomplished by use of microbes naturally growing in these food. During fermentation, bacteria produce vitamins as they digest vegetable matter. The salting causes a vegetable to lose water. The fat soluble vitamins will become more concentrated. The vegetables such as cabbage, carrot, cucumber, green mangoes and tomatoes are being regularly used for development of fermented vegetables. Lactic acid bacteria are most common microbes involved in the fermentation of vegetables. An important aspect of vegetable fermentation is adding salt to it. Salting helps lactic acid bacteria grow more quickly than other microorganisms.
Functional food are generally similar in appearance to or are conventional food demonstrated to have physiological benefits and or to reduce the risk of chronic disease beyond basic nutritional functions. As food may be considered naturally functional if it contains a bioactive component that influences one or more targeted functions in beneficial manner.
Various potential health benefits of functional food are reduction in serum cholesterol level, reduction in the risk of cardiovascular disease and the different types of cancers, boost up the immune function, improved gastrointestinal health and healthy cardiovascular functions. In this slide you can see functional food with their essential compounds. For example, fermented dairy food, broccoli contains sulforaphane. Fermented dairy products contain probiotics and prebiotic, fish, omega-3 fatty acids, fruits and vegetables, various phytochemicals, garlic, sulfur compounds, purple grape juice, polyphenolic compounds, soy food, soy proteins, tomato and its product contain lycopenes.
The term probiotics is derived from Greek language which means for life. According to FAO and WHO, probiotics are defined as live microorganisms which, when administered in adequate amount, confer a health benefits on the host. In 1908, Russian scientist Eli Matnikov described the health benefits of probiotics. The food containing these live microorganisms are considered as probiotic food.
Broadly, the organism should have certain characteristics like the organism should survive in the upper digestive tract and intestine, that is, it should be resistant to acid in the stomach and other digestive chemicals such as bile salt, pancreatic juice, etc. And it should also adhere to the intestinal tract. It should inhibit pathogens. It should remain viable in food during storage for longer duration. The industrial preparation should be easy and it must produce a beneficial effect in the host. Here you can see several health effects of probiotic food such as control of common intestinal pathogens, elevation of lactose intolerance, prevention of different forms of diarrhea, anti-mutagenic and anti-carcinogenic activity, reduction in serum cholesterol level, immunomodulation, hypocholesteremic effect and prevention of IBDs and reduces the ulcers. In this slide you can see successful probiotics. These are Lactobacillus acidophilus, Lactobacillus casei, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, Lactobacillus reuteri, Bifidobacterium bifidum, Bifidobacterium longum and Saccharomyces boulardii. Value-added products are most commonly derived from fruits and vegetables. These are transformed into more valuable food products that is preferred in the marketplace. The typical value-added products include jams, jellies, preservatives, fruit sauces and spreads, pickles, preserved vegetables, hot chilies, sauces, extra virgin appellants, olive oils and herb flavored olive oils and vinegars. About 90% of value added food products are sold at farmers markets.
Fermentation is a relatively efficient process, increases the quality, shelf life and importance of food by the involvement of microorganisms in it, and which is beneficial to the mankind. In the process of fermentation, the dairy and plant materials are converted from complex form to simpler form, like lactic acid from lactose depletion. Different types of microorganisms are involved in fermentation process such as bacteria, yeast and mold, and also play an important role in it. Fermented food are popular throughout the world, and in some regions it makes a significant contribution to staple routine diet of a human being. Food having therapeutic values along with nutritional importance are referred as functional food, and these food provide health benefits to consumers. Nowadays, most emerging functional food is probiotics, which are live microorganisms confers health benefits to the host. Although number of probiotic products are available in India, moreover, the importance of value-added products is also increasing due to changes in the perception of consumers for healthy lifestyle. Overall, microorganisms play a crucial role in the betterment of human beings through fermentation.